Welcome to our lecture on global regulatory strategies and market sale for medical devices. Global regulatory strategies are critical for medical device developers aiming to enter multiple international markets efficiently. Major regulatory agencies such as the FDA in the United States, Health Canada, and the European Union under the MDR have distinct regulatory frameworks, requirements, and approval processes. Understanding these agencies, their classification systems, submission pathways, and review procedures allows companies to plan effectively and reduce approval timelines. Strategic planning approaches such as sequential, parallel, and regional clustering enable sponsors to optimize resources and leverage approvals from one market to facilitate entry into others. Furthermore, harmonization initiatives like the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, MDRF, the Medical Device Single Audit Program, MDSAP, and common submission templates support standardized approaches that can reduce redundant work. A robust global strategy integrates regulatory, clinical, quality management, and commercialization considerations early in the development process to ensure smooth global market entry and sustainable compliance. The FDA plays a central role in safeguarding public health in the United States by regulating medical devices, ensuring that they are safe, effective, and meet high standards of quality. The Center for Devices and Radiological Health, CDRH, is the division responsible for reviewing medical devices and providing guidance on compliance. Devices are classified into Class 1, low risk, Class 2, moderate risk, and Class 3, high risk, which determines the regulatory requirements and the pathway for approval. The 510(k) pre-market notification pathway allows clearance of devices substantially equivalent to legally marketed predicate devices. The de novo classification pathway supports novel, low to moderate risk devices with no predicate, and the PMA pathway requires extensive clinical and non-clinical data for high-risk devices. Effective FDA engagement, including pre-submission meetings and alignment on clinical study design, helps sponsors ensure that their submission meets expectations, minimizes queries, and accelerates market entry. Understanding FDA expectations is crucial for global strategy, as U.S. clearance is often leveraged for approvals in other regions. Health Canada is the federal agency responsible for regulating medical devices to ensure the safety, efficacy, and quality of healthcare products available in Canada. The Medical Devices Bureau manages regulatory oversight, classification, and licensing. Devices are categorized from Class 1, lowest risk, to Class 4, highest risk, and Class 2 to 4 devices require a medical device license, MDL, prior to sale. Submission requirements include device description, risk assessment, clinical data if applicable, labeling, and conformity assessment. Health Canada also participates in international harmonization programs such as MDSAP, allowing audits to satisfy multiple regulatory authorities. Early regulatory planning, risk-based development, and alignment of clinical studies with Canadian requirements facilitate efficient approval and minimize delays. For global strategy, Health Canada's processes must be considered alongside other jurisdictions to harmonize documentation and clinical evidence requirements efficiently. The European Union regulates medical devices under the EU Medical Device Regulation, MDR, ensuring that products meet safety, performance, and quality standards. Notified bodies, which are third-party organizations designated by EU member states, are responsible for assessing conformity for higher-risk devices. Device classifications range from Class 1, low risk, to Class 3, high risk, with associated regulatory requirements including clinical evaluation, technical documentation, and post-market surveillance. CE marking is mandatory for all devices to be legally marketed in the EU. Compliance with MDR annexes, unique device identification, UDI, implementation, and post-market clinical follow-up are essential components. Understanding EU MDR requirements is critical for global strategies, as CE marking enables access to multiple EU countries, and aligns with harmonization initiatives to streamline approvals across regions. Sponsors must coordinate clinical evidence, documentation, and risk management to satisfy EU requirements effectively. Global regulatory strategy requires careful consideration of market entry sequencing. The sequential approach prioritizes one major market, such as the US or EU, and leverages the clinical, technical, and quality data to facilitate submissions in other regions. This reduces redundancy and streamlines regulatory interactions, but may extend the overall timeline for global launch. The parallel approach involves pursuing multiple submissions simultaneously, requiring greater resources but accelerating international market access. Regional clustering groups countries with similar regulatory requirements, allowing submissions to be prepared efficiently while minimizing duplication. Effective planning considers timelines, costs, available data, and regulatory risk. Harmonizing clinical studies, documentation, and quality management systems across markets is critical to successful simultaneous or sequential market entry. Sponsors must also consider market size, reimbursement potential, and strategic importance to select the optimal pathway. Harmonization initiatives aim to streamline regulatory processes across international markets. The International Medical Device Regulators Forum, MDRF, provides guidance on risk-based regulatory approaches and best practices. The Medical Device Single Audit Program, MDSAP, allows a single regulatory audit to satisfy the requirements of multiple jurisdictions, including the US, Canada, Brazil, Japan, and Australia, reducing duplicative audits and increasing efficiency. Common submission templates standardize the structure and content of regulatory submissions, allowing manufacturers to prepare applications in a format recognized by multiple agencies. By leveraging these harmonization efforts, sponsors can minimize redundant testing, reduce administrative burden, and accelerate global market entry. Integration of these tools into the overall regulatory strategy supports consistent quality, compliance, and alignment across regions. A company has developed a novel non-invasive glucose monitoring device using advanced optical technology, enabling measurement of blood glucose without blood sampling. To successfully launch the device globally, a comprehensive regulatory strategy is necessary to navigate differing requirements across the FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR frameworks. The development plan integrates clinical studies, quality management, ISO 13485:2016, and technical documentation to meet multiple regulatory standards. By aligning regulatory expectations early, the sponsor aims to obtain market authorization efficiently while ensuring patient safety, device performance, and compliance with post-market obligations. The case illustrates how harmonization, pre-submission meetings, and strategic planning facilitate entry into multiple international markets. For FDA clearance, the glucose monitoring device was classified as Class 2, necessitating a 510(k) pre-market notification. The sponsor conducted a pre-submission meeting with CDRH to align clinical study design, identify endpoints, and determine testing requirements. A comparison with predicate devices established substantial equivalence, supported by performance testing and analytical validation. Human factors studies ensured usability and safety for end users. A post-market surveillance plan was developed to monitor performance, adverse events, and device reliability after market introduction. These activities ensure compliance, support a strong regulatory submission, and facilitate timely market entry in the United States. Health Canada classified the device as Class 3, requiring a medical device license, MDL. The sponsor implemented the Canadian Medical Device Conformity Assessment System, CMCAS, audit to demonstrate compliance with Canadian requirements. Labeling was prepared in both English and French to meet bilingual regulations. The clinical evidence developed for FDA submission was leveraged where applicable, with adjustments for any Canadian-specific endpoints or study requirements. Early planning and harmonization minimized duplicate work, ensuring efficiency and timely approval in the Canadian market while maintaining alignment with other global submissions. In the European Union, the device was classified as Class IIB under MDR. CE marking is mandatory for all devices entering the EU market. The sponsor prepared technical documentation in accordance with MDR annexes, including device description, risk management, design verification and validation, and clinical evaluation reports. A post-market clinical follow-up, PMCF, plan was implemented to monitor device performance and safety. Unique Device Identification, UDI, was included to support traceability, vigilance, and regulatory reporting. These EU-specific requirements necessitate careful alignment with global strategy to avoid redundant studies and ensure compliance across jurisdictions. The sponsor adopted a sequential strategy, designating the FDA as the lead market due to its size, established precedents, and prior experience with the agency. Data from FDA submissions, including clinical trials, bench testing, and human factors validation, were leveraged to support Health Canada and EU submissions. This approach reduces duplication, minimizes regulatory risk, and optimizes resource allocation. Strategic sequencing allows the company to manage timelines effectively, address regulatory questions efficiently, and achieve market access in multiple regions with a structured and predictable approach. By focusing on the lead market first, the company ensures that subsequent submissions are informed by prior experience and regulatory feedback. In addition to sequential strategies, parallel submissions and regional clustering can accelerate global market access. Parallel submissions involve simultaneous filing in multiple countries, requiring significant coordination, aligned clinical protocols, and harmonized documentation. Regional clustering groups countries with similar regulatory requirements, such as EU member states, to streamline submissions. These strategies optimize resources, reduce time to market, and allow for early market penetration while maintaining compliance across regions. A harmonized approach ensures that documentation, risk management, and clinical evidence are consistent, minimizing discrepancies and facilitating regulatory acceptance. The International Medical Device Regulators Forum, IMDRF, provides global guidance and best practices to align regulatory expectations across jurisdictions. The Medical Device Single Audit Program, MDSAP, enables a single audit of the quality management system to satisfy multiple regulatory authorities, including the US, Canada, Brazil, Japan, and Australia. Common submission templates standardize format and content, allowing consistent regulatory submissions internationally. By leveraging these harmonization tools, manufacturers can reduce duplication, optimize documentation, and accelerate approval timelines. Integration of IMDRF and MDSAP into the regulatory strategy ensures compliance, supports risk-based decision-making, and enhances operational efficiency. Clinical studies must be carefully designed to satisfy requirements across multiple markets. Endpoints should demonstrate safety, effectiveness, and performance according to FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR guidelines. Additional endpoints may be required for EU submissions, such as PMCF metrics. Studies should follow good clinical practices, GCP, maintain rigorous documentation, and adhere to ethical standards. Proper planning allows the sponsor to collect harmonized data that supports submissions globally, reducing the need for additional studies, and ensuring efficient regulatory acceptance. Integration of clinical design with risk management and quality system planning ensures that evidence is robust, traceable, and compliant with all relevant regulations. A robust quality management system, QMS, is foundational for global regulatory compliance. ISO 13485:2016 provides requirements for the design, development, production, and post-market management of medical devices. Participation in MDSAP audits allows a single assessment to satisfy regulatory requirements in multiple jurisdictions, streamlining compliance and reducing duplicative effort. The QMS ensures traceability of design inputs, outputs, verification and validation, risk management, and post-market surveillance. Document integrity and controlled change management are critical to demonstrate compliance to auditors and regulators. Implementing a global QMS supports efficient regulatory submissions, continuous improvement, and timely response to post-market issues, ensuring ongoing device safety and efficacy. Market entry requires strategic consideration of reimbursement systems, distribution channels, pricing, and localization. Understanding payer systems in each market helps in planning pricing and demonstrating economic value. Distribution channels may include direct sales, partnerships, or local distributors, each impacting regulatory and operational responsibilities. Pricing must account for reimbursement levels, competition, and local market conditions. Localization includes translating labeling, adapting marketing materials, and providing training for local users. A comprehensive strategy ensures that products are accessible, affordable, and meet regulatory requirements while maximizing commercial success. Once a device is marketed, ongoing compliance is essential. Vigilance reporting requires timely submission of adverse events and device malfunctions to regulatory authorities. Post-market surveillance monitors device performance, captures real-world evidence, and identifies potential safety issues. In the EU, manufacturers must submit periodic safety update reports, SURs, to provide regulatory authorities with an overview of device safety. Maintaining an effective quality system ensures that records are up to date, audits are successful, and continuous improvement is demonstrated. Post-market activities are critical to maintain regulatory approval, protect patients, and support long-term commercial success across multiple jurisdictions. Effective risk management underpins global regulatory strategy. ISO 14971 provides a systematic approach for identifying hazards, assessing risks, implementing mitigation measures, and evaluating residual risk. Risk management must be integrated across clinical, engineering, and regulatory functions to ensure that all aspects of device development, validation, and post-market performance are considered. Documented risk assessments are required for submissions in multiple markets, demonstrating that patient safety is prioritized and regulatory compliance is achieved. Ongoing risk evaluation informs post-market surveillance, corrective actions, and continuous product improvement, supporting long-term success across international markets. Global regulatory challenges arise from differences in device classification, submission requirements, and review timelines. Each regulatory agency may have unique expectations for technical documentation, clinical evidence, labeling, and post-market surveillance. These differences can create complexity, risk of delays, and increased resource requirements. Strategic use of harmonization programs like IMDRF and MDSAP, careful pathway selection, and pre-submission meetings with key agencies help mitigate these challenges. Integrated planning ensures that documentation and clinical evidence are consistent, comprehensive, and accepted across multiple regions. By anticipating regulatory expectations and aligning global submissions, sponsors can reduce approval risk, streamline timelines, and enhance the probability of successful commercialization. Successful global regulatory strategy requires a thorough understanding of major agencies such as FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR, as well as their classification systems, submission pathways, and review processes. Strategic planning, including sequential, parallel, and regional clustering approaches, optimizes the use of resources and timelines while reducing regulatory risk. Leveraging harmonization programs, single audits, and common submission templates streamlines approval processes across multiple jurisdictions. Integrating clinical study design, quality management systems, risk management, and regulatory compliance ensures that devices meet safety, performance, and market entry requirements. A comprehensive, harmonized, and proactive approach enables timely global market entry, compliance, and sustainable commercialization for innovative medical devices.